Hello everyone. Thank you for coming to the fifth volume of our Learn and Discuss sessions. For those of you that are new and haven't yet participated in our Learn and Discuss sessions, these are a series of seminars on pressing issues, not only on agriculture, but world issues, so we can learn to engagement and community building and interact with others. We have a series of experts usually on different topics. For today's Learn and Discuss, we have the topic illegal animal trading. Although most of us have an idea of illegal animal trading, we have three experts here who will give us more detail on the intricacies of animal trading from different case studies and perspectives. So our speakers today, our experts are three. Sorry, I apologize for mispronouncing the Czech names beforehand. We have David Vašina from the Save the Turtles organization. It's an organization working on sea turtles. And also we have Teresa Svejkarova, sorry again. We have Teresa here also helping shed a light to protect the wildlife birds within Southeast Asia. And also we have young Chmelar from also shedding a light on international biodiversity regarding this animal trading. So we hope you enjoy our today's session. So we'll start with David on Save the Turtles. So we'll continue.
Okay.
Ono si to pamatuje cestu k té flešce, která už tam je.
Tak to určitě pádem.
Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for invitation for our organization. We are an organization focused on sea turtles and their conservation programs and projects, mostly in Southeastern Asia. And today I would like to speak about the situation, about the problems, and partly, hopefully, about the solutions of all these problems. We will focus a little bit on kind of illegal trades, but mostly on the context of the problematics of sea turtles and their endangered situation. So, as you know, probably, for somebody knows, we have 7 species of sea turtles. All of them are endangered worldwide. Almost doesn't matter where they are. Everywhere they have kind of struggles, mostly with humans, of course. But at the beginning, we can start. What is the key roles of sea turtles in the ocean? What is the importance of these animals? Why do we need them? One of the first and most important things that they help a coral reefs biodiversity, and they maintain coral reefs focused on eating sponges. And if there are turtles close to the coral reefs are healthy. They can provide what they should, like some work for oxygen, some work for fish, and for other biodiversity, and all this environment in the ocean. This is one of the most important roles for sea turtles, and that's one of the most important parts why we should keep them in the ocean in a high population. Second important part is they maintain seagrass beds in the ocean, which is also important for the oxygen, but also for fish and for the food chain in all the parts and all the areas in the world where they are. So the combination of the coral reefs and seagrass beds are the key environment for fish and all the marine ecosystems where the turtles are one of the most important species over there, and in cooperation or in another part with, for example, jellyfish, which, okay, when we go swimming somewhere, it's quite good when there's not like tons of jellyfish, but it's also more important for fish larvae because jellyfish eat them. So it's also another part where it's important for fish and for the beginning of food chain. So there's the third key role of sea turtles in the ocean, and that's why we should keep them in the ocean. As I said before, one of the small, or maybe just part of the problem is with this visuality of plastic pollution in the ocean. So if, for example, leatherback sea turtle should eat, I don't know how many tons of jellyfish per day. So if they eat tons of plastic bags instead of it, you can imagine how it can help them to be healthy and still alive. The turtle conservation is a conservation of the entire marine ecosystem, and of course a lot of turtles means a lot of fish, healthy ecosystem of coral reefs and seagrass beds. And this is mostly important for communities or societies on the sea coast in Southeast Asia or South America, Africa, worldwide, because maybe they are not that connected to sea turtles, but they are definitely connected with fish. So that's what we try to explain them, that they need turtles to have fish, and they need fish to have some kind of quality of life they want it or they are used to have it. So I think like this brief introduction, everybody understands, everybody agrees, okay, we should have turtles, we should protect the environment, nice. But the problem is that in the last, let's say 50, 60 years, more than 90% of sea turtles died because of pollution, because of wars, because of killing for meat, because of killing for some illegal trade, or because of killing for whatever. So that's why it's so complicated situation, and we are somewhere here about. And if we start with the protection, how we started in Southeast Asia and other organizations as well, all the America coast, Africa, we can start changing this direction, but we are not sure if it's enough. We will see in the next few decades probably. So this is the main problem what we are faced now, and here is the same situation but in a different way of illustration, because in natural system we have all the ages of turtles, but if we start killing, for example, eggs, eating them, selling them for some medicine or whatever, we lost them. So in the next 20 years we still have some turtles. That's the problem in the societies on the seacoast in some areas in the world, because okay, they don't have this high number of turtles, they have this number of turtles, but still they have turtles. We come there and they say, okay, here we can see turtle here, no problem. But the problem is there already, but it's not just that visible. So this is the main problem what we try to explain them, and try to explain worldwide what people should do, not just in the seacoast areas, but also in areas like here, Hungary, Austria, Czech Republic, whatever. Even we have no sea or ocean, our environment is every single day in cooperation with what is happening in ocean or in the sea. The worst situation for sea turtles, but probably not just for sea turtles, is in the ocean. So that's why we started to do the program there because we wanted to go to places where it's the worst and where nobody wants to do much. So that's why we are there. But I will speak about the organization a little bit later. Now I would like to mention the main problems, what we can face in the ocean. Probably you will know them. Of course, it's a kind of bycatch and overfishing worldwide. Huge nets, long for kilometers, huge fleets of boats or whatever. And turtles, they need to breathe, so if they are kept in the net, they cannot breathe, so they will die as well as dolphins and other animals. This is one of the biggest problems, and everybody understands, everybody knows, but everybody wants to buy fish every single day in supermarket in Czech Republic, Netherlands, France, United States, Canada, whatever. So this is quite a complicated problem, and nobody knows how to effectively solve it. There's a problem also with the shark, with all the animals who can be killed by this overfishing and this problematics. A few years ago, I think 2020, we were on Galapagos Island, and this is the line of protected area. Everybody accepted, even China, India, everyone. But this is a fleet of like 250 Chinese fishermen ships, and they are waiting here on the border. They let some wooden small boats to go in the area, kill some animals, throw them to the water, and attract dolphins, attract sharks, attract sea turtles, whatever. Because GPS location is here, it's okay. Everything here is invisible, and the animals are coming out of the area, and they can kill and catch all of them. So it was quite a big problem. It happens almost every year. Everybody understands, everybody knows about it. But Ecuador and Chile and Peru, all the states around, even the United States, they have no power, they have no legal effort how to solve, for example, this one particular problem. Also, there can be problem with the local fishermen in the coast, but the quantity is not that massive like in the ocean with big, huge fleets. If it will be not that big problem with the fishermen ships, there will be another, and still, of course, it is problem with the plastic pollution. Everybody knows about it. Probably you heard about the islands of plastic in the ocean, size of France. I think everything is true, and on the sea coast, everywhere it's visible, not just in the water, but also in the sand. And even if you can clean it, if you dig under the sand, you always find some plastic, anytime and anywhere. Which is problem for not just turtles' eggs, but for all the animals. It can make a higher temperature of sand, because it's not just sand, there's a plastic stuff inside. And also it's problem for as a food chain of the seacoast animals. Another part can be quite maybe surprised. The tree trunks who are burned out from the forests to make some plantages, or how to call it, and because it's problem, of course, for orangutans, monkeys, birds, animals in the forest. But after it's thrown in the sea, in the ocean, and it stands in some islands on the beaches where it's problem for sea turtles, but also it can bring some rats or some kind of these animals who can totally destroy all these fragile ecosystems on the islands. So this is another problem what can be quite tricky. Of course, predators, the dogs, before a few years, decades ago, it was quite easy, but now people have dogs, but they don't care about them, they don't look after, so they can dig out baby turtles or even eggs. And of course, maybe you know it also from Europe, like some Balkan countries, but it's the same in other areas in the world. The dogs on the beach, they kill what they want because they are hungry. So if there is no protection for sea turtles, they have no strategy how to solve this kind of problem. because before it was nothing like that happened. So it can be still the problem. Just this area, and with this, also the rats or something like this can kill all the turtles, even if we will protect them against the human influence. For example, digging the sand for architecture, for buildings, or for whatever, it can damage all the turtle eggs, all the turtle areas, and also make problems for erosion of the island. And even if they use tractors or some heavy machinery for taking the nets out of the sea, you can imagine that if under this track that can be the turtle nest, nothing will happen. It will all die and nothing will come out. Climate change, erosion, of course, the problem, and in the small islands you can see very visibly, very clearly the problem. And it's every year you can see the island is smaller and smaller and smaller. And you can imagine if there is kind of system of roots of the trees, you would like to have some turtle nest here. You can imagine how complicated it can be to dig the hole, and then for the baby turtles, how it can be complicated to take out. Almost impossible, I would say. In combination with the high temperature of the sand because of climate change and also the plastic pollution, it's another kind of problems what should be solved somehow and what we should focus on. Probably you can imagine how it works in some, let's say, poor areas or not that protected areas, for example, in Asia or as well as South America. Dynamic fishing, I would guess that last year it's a little bit better, but still you can find dead turtles killed by dynamite, and you can imagine how it's with all the fish around and dolphins, sharks, whatever will be around there. Killing turtles for meat is not that, let's say, not a visible problem because it's illegal worldwide. It's illegal to touch turtles. It's illegal to take turtle eggs. Everybody knows, but nobody follows the rules, of course. And this is another problem, and it's absolutely useless to do this because it's not needed at all. And sometimes you can still see sharks in the markets. We do sometimes monitoring on the fish market. When we are there, they know maybe that we are there, so they are very careful with the turtles. But still, we can see some sharks, sometimes dolphins. It depends which area it is, and depends what kind of market it is, and also what is the season. And another problematic part is souvenir from turtles. Here you can see turtle without the shell. It's the process how to take this. This is from turtle shell. All these things. It's quite tragic. I can describe later if you would like, but it's something which is really problematic because it's very famous for tourists, not mostly from Europe or United States, but from Indonesia, China, Singapore, areas around, because it has some magical power, or is good for medicine, or is it kind of magical protection. So it's still very popular, even they know that it's illegal and they should not have this. A few years ago, it was in international airport market without any problem, nobody cares. The situation is sometimes getting better, but on the black market, it's very easy to find this. And with this, I will just add the illegal trade of the turtles, because this is quite easy to hide somewhere in your luggage or whatever if you travel. But to have whole turtle, it's very complicated to be like ordinary tourist. So it's more problematic with let's say organizations who are focused on dead turtles, transporting dead animals worldwide. And this is what, for example, we are not focusing on because we have no power to do it. We are focusing on the direct protection of the seas and the sand and beaches and the places where turtles are. but this illegal trade of whole turtles is also quite complicated because it's mostly political problem or with high businessmen or something like this. So this is what is more visible to see whole animals. It's not that easy to find it, fortunately, because it's not that easy to buy it. One of the biggest problems compared to, for example, is turtle shells or some tree trunks is with the poachers who steal the eggs, because they are able to steal all the eggs on the beach. So if you can imagine, for the last 10 years, we have some kind of beach, and turtles come there every single night, and they take all the eggs every single day. After 10 years, you can imagine how it's with the population of the sea turtles. Nothing happens. It's slowly dying out because nothing is there, and they are able to take all the eggs. So that's why we focus mainly on these parts. Another, not that visible, but if you are in the places, quite complicated problem is protection in this kind of pools or tanks, because it was official political, let's say, advice to put small baby turtles into the tank. When they are bigger, we can release them to the sea. It's better against predators or something like this. But after the people really find an easy way to earn some money on it, so now it's just business, and even before it was false strategy, it was not good for the turtles at all. But now everybody knows it. But for example, in Sri Lanka or parts of Indonesia, and I'm sure also in other places in the world, you can find conservation centers focusing on conservation for sea turtles, but they have the pools, which is great for tourists. Tourists can come anytime in the day. They can see small baby turtles. They can pay some money, raise them to the sea. Everybody's happy. The turtles are in the sea. Unfortunately, all the baby turtles will die because in these pools they cannot dive because there is not the deep water like in the ocean. So their lungs cannot develop. Also, they cannot swim because there are no waves. They don't know how to find the food because there's always somebody who put them food. So they are looking for the food from the top of the water, not down, like the seagrass or corals, for example. So, and yeah, last thing, they release them anytime in the day when it's like 30, 40 degrees, totally hot sand. They take them out, and you can imagine that it's very hot, so they will die. Even they go to the sea, but after a few hours they will die because they have no energy to survive. So this is a big problem, this tourist trap, and it's a huge business. I think it's kind of mafia in, for example, Sri Lanka, definitely. So if you will travel somewhere, and maybe all the problems what I mentioned before are not visible, but this one is visible very easily because they will tell you that this is protection. And you will know there is no protection at all, and just for money. Nothing good for turtles, just good for people who are working in this center. Sometimes they even have some volunteering programs that people with toothbrush clean the tanks or feed the turtles with, I don't know, some salad or whatever. But it's absolutely nonsense. Unfortunately, it's very popular in Southeast Asia still, and we are fighting government with local people to try to change the strategy. But unfortunately, there's so big money in it that it's very, very complicated. So conservation centers where they have pools for the small turtles is not conservation. If there is some pool where injured turtles and you are sure that they are in kind of rehabilitation or how to call it, it can be good one. It can be good progress and good process, but mostly you will see plenty of tanks and hundreds of small baby turtles. So obviously sea turtles belong to the sea, not to the pools. Everybody agrees, and I think everybody understands. If we have a few minutes more, I will just briefly explain what we do and what you can imagine how it should be, or how we think should be the protection of the sea turtles. If it's all right. Okay, so I will briefly. We are focusing on three parts. Direct protection is the protection of the nesting beaches, that no people can steal the eggs, no animals can take it out, or if there is some bad places because of high tide or something like this, the rangers can relocate the nest. And this is the most important part in direct protection, because we can have a lot of science, and we can do many programs, theoretically know what happens about the habits or whatever, but turtles are dying every day. So that's why we are focusing on this part. Education of local people, of course, we need them, they understand why they need turtles, why it's important they have them. It's easier with kids, of course, so we are focusing on cooperation with the schools, but as well with adults, with teachers, whoever, even some hostels are very helpful in the last years, which is great. And for local communities, we do some kind of workshops that they don't need to use turtle shell or some bones or whatever, but they can do some wood materials or coconut to change the material and support the protection in another way from the other part, let's say. Where we are, we have programs here in Indonesia and Sri Lanka. We do some consulting programs in Malaysia, for example, Ecuador, but mostly well in these two countries. We have 5 places what we support in Indonesia, and 2 places in Sri Lanka. And also in Sri Lanka, in both sides, we are in close cooperation with government, because it must be legal and must be official. But you can imagine how it can be sometimes very complicated. For example, we are preparing a law about the conservation program in Sri Lanka since 2019, and still nothing happens. So we started to change the strategy, and we want to recommend places where people can see turtles and support the education, not to go to the pools, for example. I think it will be much faster than the governmental cooperation, as well as in Indonesia, but I think you can imagine how it works. What does it mean, like protection? Rangers every night must relocate the turtle eggs if there is a problem with the poachers, which is very often. If not, they can leave them in the place where it is, if there is no problem with high tide, which is their knowledge, how to do, when to do, and why to do. You can see it's very similar and very basic. They will take out the eggs in the bucket, replace it in another place, make the hole, and put them again into the sand. But it's quite complicated to find the nest, and it must be like gentle work with the eggs, because we are also focusing on a high percentage of these replaced nests. The best thing is that we can follow and protect the female turtle nesting the eggs and keep it how it is. But unfortunately, on most places, it's not possible in these days. This is used, for example, to find where in the sand it is. I cannot do it, but they are very good with it and they are very professional. Also, when these programs will protect the beaches and the coastal areas, also you can protect the area around. So it's easier to monitor that they are not dynamic fishing, no overfishing. They are very careful with bycatch. If there is some kind of conservation project works with people. Here you can see how it looks in the inside of the hatchery, where you put the eggs inside to be protected, not just against the poachers, but also against monkeys, dogs, even some iguanas and whatever can be problematic there. And then you can see naturally turtles go out and they go to the sea. In the meantime, of course, the cleaning of the beaches, not just for tree trunks, but mostly for plastic. And then what do you think they do with the plastic in the island when they collect it? Definitely, they must burn, because there is no other chance what to do with it. Of course, the education, we are focusing on all the ages, small children, teenagers, adults. It depends on the way of cooperation and if they want or they just pretend that they want to help. We have some materials. Now our materials for small kids, like let's say under 10, it's in 3 continents, Europe, South America and Asia, I think 5 or 6 languages. And we are happy to share with schools, with universities, even with local communities, because they have natural way how to get the information about the ocean, about the ecosystem, and also about the nature and turtles. We also do the education and programs for adults, because it must be also all the parts where we are. And this is, for example, just a few pictures from a workshop with local people. Then, for example, here they do something for coconut shell instead of turtle shells. Here you can see the comparison turtle shell necklace and some products from coconuts. It can be very professional. It depends on the skills and abilities of the fisherman, local craftsman. Doesn't matter who is it, important that they want to do. And normally we do some workshops. We give them some not just materials but also tools what to do, because in some areas you can imagine they have very, very poor equipment. But also we support some local craftsman studios, like fabric or whatever, wooden stuff. And so we try to support them, buying something and sharing the information with the hotels, with the tourists, that they can visit these places and they can buy directly from the people who can make it, not something what is bring from I don't know, India, Pakistan, China, or whatever, something like this. So this is our third part, what we do. And there's some certificate system. Here we can see planting mangroves or trees to protect the beaches against the erosion. Some cooperation with the science in Czech Republic. This is a program to track the turtle egg. Where is the exact trade? Where are the waste? And then we focus on the villages or the people who are in it. We do more process like this, but the most important thing that diet protection and education and local support is most important. And as I try to do it, I'm trying to do it right now, sharing information in Czech Republic, in Asia, America, whatever. Because if the people will have the information, for example, the tourists with the pools, they will understand and they will not follow what is not exactly what they wanted. So this is what we do, and this is why we do it. For example, here you can see how can be problems in some places where you can see turtles in the, let's say, nature way. Because of time, I think it should be enough, and I will be happy to answer all kind of questions if you have. Or maybe later
in the discussion.
Thank you very much, and thank you for.
Thank you again, David, for an in-depth look on the sea turtles, starting from the problems to the solutions. I know most of you might have questions in mind. We have 30 minutes at the end, so we will welcome all and every questions with the discussion part. We have 30 minutes at the end. Now, following, we have Teresa Schroeder for our next presentation.
So hello, my name is Teresa, and I'm going to be talking about birds, specifically in Indonesia, and a thing called songbird crisis, which is happening in the past decades, and the role of social media in it. So the wildlife trade is the second biggest threat to animals after habitat loss. It consists of pet trade, poaching animals for food, their hides, traditional Chinese medicine, and other things. And all of these things are connected. Habitat loss leads to fragmentation, which is causing a better accessibility of the targeted species. So, for example, in Sumatra, where I worked for the past many years, so the poachers have to pass only 5 kilometers of rainforest to get a targeted species, and it's because of fragmentation. So, and the huge problem in Indonesia is that 1/3 of Indonesian households keep birds. It's a huge thing over there. And there's 250 million people in Indonesia, which means tens of thousands of poached birds every year. And this business is worth $2 billion every year, only in Indonesia. And the species that I was mainly focused on is a hill myna. This specific one is called Minas hill myna, and it's targeted because it can mimic very well human speech and all kind of sounds, and it's like a status bird, which means that the richest people or the wealthiest people can afford to have them. And also they are poached because they are believed to heal or help children with speaking problems. And in general, in Java, they believe that a proper Javanese man should have a house, a wife, a dagger, horse, and a bird. The thing is that Indonesia is huge. This is a Javan tradition, but during the 19th century, the Dutch were moving people around Indonesia, that they won't be making troubles because of large groups of interest and stuff. So they translocated about 3 million people, and they also translocated the traditions with them. So the tradition of keeping birds just spread all across Indonesia. And it used to be probably sustainable in some kind of way once it was only regional or local, the bird trapping. But once the transportation and all of the routes, all of it get connected, so it's not sustainable anymore, obviously, because you can really get in Sumatra bird from all across Indonesia very easily. And the way how do they actually catch the birds? Because Indonesians unfortunately believe that birds poached from the wild are singing better, are stronger than birds that are bred in captivity. So it's very different from the mentality, for example, here in Europe, where the biggest achievement of someone keeping birds is actually breeding the animal. So over there, it's more wanted to have a wild bird. And it's also cheaper to get the bird from the wild. And there are many ways how to catch birds. They are using mist nets, which is a standard way of catching birds. Even here, for example, they are using the bird line, which is some kind of glue that obviously the bird doesn't really like it, and it's also not targeting only birds. It's like all lizards and invertebrates are being caught like this. They are using all kind of traps. They are harvesting chicks or fledglings. They also, with species that are hard to catch, they are, which you can see over there, they are hanging fishing hooks and catching the birds while they fly through certain places. And all this resulting obviously in high mortality in the caught birds. So researchers say that 80% of the birds died before they reach the final owner. And it's not only the way they are caught, it's also the way they are transported in huge amounts in plastic bottles. They also tend to dye certain species that they will be more colorful, which is obviously deadly because birds are very respiratory sensitive. They are also choosing species that are not very good for being held in captivity. For example, species that eat nectar, or they are feeding them bad diet. For example, with the hill mynas that I was focused on, we saw many birds that were fed only with rice. or only with banana their whole lives. And these are some of the examples that we found on the internet with my students. So you see, like on the right side, there's a man who has like many birds kept in a plastic bag just with the head out. And they're packed in leaves and all kind of very, very sophisticated ways. And what species are targeted is very different in different times. For example, after Harry Potter movies, we could see large amount of owls being traded. But there are some species that are targeted for a long time and very intensively. These are some of the examples. This is white-rumped llama, for example, which is the most traded bird for so-called bird competitions, which is a big thing in Indonesia. They are making contests in song. They are teaching the bird all kind of new elements of song, and they are actually making huge money. Like once you win these competitions, you can really win a lot of money. And there are other species, like for example, this is black-winged starling on the right side, which was a very common species. It was like 30 years ago, it was worth like $10 or something. Today, you will be having hard time to get it for $350, and it's critically endangered. And now, is it legal? Is it illegal? It's illegal, but it's widely tolerated. The problem is that there are nearly 2,000 bird species in Indonesia, so it's really hard for the local authorities to even recognize the species. Then there is the tradition, so it's really tolerated. On the right side, you see a president of Indonesia who's bringing his shama to his own bird song competition, where you could win like really hundreds of thousands chick rounds, for example. So it's a big problem. So it's an ignored topic. Indonesia is very large, and there's quite little research done in this topic because the environment for foreign researchers is not really friendly over there. There is also problematic monitoring of the bird markets. There are huge bird markets, but once you would be going there a few times, they would already know you, and they know that you're going to cause them trouble. So it's really hard, and also the birds are not having any rings or anything. So you cannot really count them because you never know what, how many of them changed, what are the numbers. But anyway, Indonesia concerning birds is a conservation priority because it has the second largest number of endemic species and endangered birds in the world. But we need research. We need taxon identification because it's there are many splits happening. Taxonomy is an ongoing thing, and to be able to conserve something, you really need to know it first. We need to know the trends. Now we are talking about huge areas, huge forests. They are very hard to study, and we need to know where to focus. And the question is if to start in situ or ex situ, or which way to go. This is an example from my research of the problem that there is with many other species too. So these birds look quite alike, right? And each one of them is from completely different places in Indonesia, and they are different species. Some of them are critically endangered, some of them are endangered, some of them are not. And this is a problem that really is a problem of all the species. So now we're talking about how to know which of the species deserve conservation attention and research. And this is how, for example, a normal bird market looks like in Indonesia. And this was the traditional way of selling birds. You would find anything over there. It's not just birds, it's monkeys, many things. And it shifted during time, even during the 14 years that I've been working there. And in the past 8 years, there is a huge boom of online trading because also Indonesians got phones and they got connected to internet, which is even better than here in most of the places. So they are big on Facebook, for example. So we started with my amazing students, one of them is here, with monitoring the online trade on social media. We did some work retrospectively and continuously for 1 year, and we saw a significant increase, which could be also caused by COVID. Anyway, we monitored 45 Facebook groups with 286,000 members, which sounds really crazy. And altogether, and this time we were focusing on the hill miner, on this beautiful blackbird, and we had like over 7,000 individuals. And this is a species that is protected by Indonesian law. Always there is a connection between price and abundance in wild. So if you have more endangered species, it will be always more expensive. And we were able, through this data, to also understand the reproduction of the birds, which wasn't known, for example. So we knew that they are having some seasonal reproduction, which we didn't know before. We also know right now where to focus with the conservation during the year. Like, for example, we know that in Sumatra they are breeding during January, and we know that in other places they are breeding in different times. So it's really, the data are very valuable for the conservation itself. We even had success of arresting one of the biggest poachers or sellers of birds, together with our colleagues and with the local authorities. And after that, when we tried this method on one species, we focused on critically endangered species and potentially endangered species, which I didn't include already here. I did include only the endangered ones. And during 1 year of monitoring, we got a huge amount of ads. You see that Facebook was really strong with the endangered ones. It was thousands and thousands of altogether 8,750 endangered individuals. They were worth 500,000 euro just from this part of the research. And the interesting fact was that 10 biggest sellers sold 12.5% of the whole amount of birds, which makes them really a good target for any law enforcement. And it's quite easy. Here you can also see during the years how the online trade went. And it's funny because here you cannot really sell anything alive on Facebook. It's really like, yeah, but over there, like, really, you can sell anything. And it has a huge potential. The problem of this method is that it's extremely exhausting for like manpower, because there is no, you have to do it manually. And the sellers are very smart in the way they are doing it. They develop their own language. They have all kind of abbreviations and ways of communicating, and they are being like more careful and more careful. So it's like each one of these 8,000 individuals it was really collected manually with all the information. So it's a great method. It has a huge potential, but we would need like a lot of people to continue in this scale. And thank you for your attention. And I'll be happy to answer your questions in the end.
Thank you so much. We had a very insightful ideas on the bird poaching. So next we have Jan Melaj on the international biodiversity conservations and related. Continue.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Jan or Honza. Sorry. And I am a wildlife inspector at the Czech Environmental Inspectorate at the Department of International Biodiversity and CITES Protection. My presentation will be a very general one. The first two you heard were very specialized, so I will need to balance it somehow. So, what are the main risks concerned or related to wildlife for the Czech Republic? And what should be priorities for us as a law enforcement? Well, due to position of our country, we are important transit country, but and also due to our history and traditions, there are very important breeding communities, growers communities, collectors and hunters, and all of these hunting, mainly fishing and falconry in our case, and all of these groups form a very large and very important subcultures. These communities are somehow interconnected, communicating mainly within themselves and closed. So it's really hard to get into that. Well, I won't bother with this, but I will only say which is our main area of execution of state administration. We mainly perform controls of the observance of the legal obligations. We impose some sort of measures. These could be some remediatory measures or some mitigation measures. We impose fines, and most importantly, we seize and confiscate specimens which belong to people that somehow broke this law. What is our department and our main areas? Our department at the Inspectorate, the Directorate, has 5 full-time inspectors plus the head of the department. And our main areas are border checks, which means international airports and customs post office. We handle complex cases that have importance that exceeds one region or is even international. We do this in cooperation with the police and customs office, and we create expert opinions for other law enforcement agencies and for court cases. The CITES agenda also is somehow handled at the regional inspectorates, but there is mostly one, maybe 2 inspectors that can handle CITES cases at each of these inspectorates, so it's not many. Well, border inspections in cases of Czech Republic means mainly checks at the Prague airport. We check import and export of live animals or plants. No, not the only live, but basically all animal or plant products. For example, we individually check more than 700 exported falcons each year. At the airport, we see a slow decline of imports and exports between years. And the main seizures at the airports are traditional Chinese medicine, smuggled reptiles for some reason, and some sort of import by tourists. It means corals, products from bones, skins, could be some mollusks, whatever. On the other hand, the customs post office, we see a significant increase in activity between years, and I mean really significant. During COVID, people really massively started ordering stuff online, so we are handling it also at this point. And the seizures from the customs post office is a broad spectrum. It can be mollusks, insects, crocodile skins, live plants, for example, cacti or orchids. And recently we started seeing traditional Chinese medicines also at the customs post office. Concerning the traditional Chinese, or sometimes in general called just traditional Asian medicine, we see it mainly, as I said, on Prague airport and the customs post office. It's dozens of annual illegal imports, and most of the time they are strongly connected to the Vietnamese community in the Czech Republic. But recently, mainly in last and this year, there is a boom in internet shops, and these are mainly founded by Czech citizens who order the medicine directly from the producer and sell it here. What protected species are mainly illegally transported to the Czech Republic? It could be the donkey calagan mainly from Africa, the small deer species from the moshes family. It's costus root, which is very famous for Chinese medicine. It could be pangolin scales or bear bile, which you see at the top. Also, we have a huge tradition of falconry, and the falcons that are bred in the Czech Republic are massively exported to Arabic countries. These are all legal exports. They have permits from the ministry. There's basically nothing we can do about it. But if there are some problems, we handle them. It could be problematic markings. For example, the rings can be removable or with replaced markings. And from the Czech or international law for marking specimens requires that the marking needs to be individually unique, and it cannot be replaced in any way. And since 2020, we are checking all the exports and imports, and as I said, that means more than 700 individually inspected falcons each year. Also, we have a huge community of parrots breeders, and again, we inspect imports and exports, and the parrots are from the Czech Republic exported either within EU or into third countries, and in a lot of cases with the breeders or even owners of parrots, on the inspections we had suspicions of animal cruelty, so we cooperate with the state veterinary administration, with the customs office, and with the police. These are some photos from the inspections of parrot breeders. You can see the conditions are not really ideal. We also have a huge community of taxidermists related to hunters and collectors. And with this, we closely cooperate mainly with the customs office, also with the police, but with the customs office, we have put together a red list of taxidermists. And we found both, in these inspections, we find both nationally protected and exotic animals, mostly hunting trophies. We are focused on uncovering organized groups, monitoring mainly the internet groups, and even infiltration of these internet communities. Here will also be some pictures from the inspections of as you can see, there is at the top they have a huge pile of spare parts. And at the bottom it's a rhino skull. Again, back to breeders. A lot of people recently are breeding primates in the Czech Republic, and again, massively exporting it. The breeding of primates is strongly connected to small zoo parks or small private zoos. In other words, and the offspring of these primates are sold mainly to Arabic countries. On inspecting this, we again closely cooperate with customs, and we individually inspect each export of primates. Again, we found some problematic markings, more individuals that were supplied with the same documents, and for example, the owner tried to tell us that the tamarin is more than 30 years old, and stuff like that. We had a large seizure last year, which was highlighted in the Operation Thunder that falls under Interpol. And again, we inspect breeders, pet shops, and traders. It is a very profitable trade. Well, the wildlife trade in general is very profitable. It's the third most profitable business after arms and drugs. So there are huge money, there's a lot of money involved. And the prices for one individual can easily exceed 40,000 euro. It's not ruffled, but rough, red rough clever. For example, with the 40,000 euro, and Arabian buyers can pay you even more. And also, we have a huge community of breeders of carnivores, mainly big cats, but not only. This is a picture from confiscation from an unnamed MMA fighter. This case was, on this case we cooperated a lot with the customs office, and we found out the origin of this tiger from another case of a sibling of this tiger, which was posted on social media. There was a little boy who owned the tiger and put a lot of videos on TikTok. So with the customs office found the place by some investigation, and they asked us to see one tiger, and then this was the second one. With all animals, but here I focus on the carnivores. They need to again have individual identification. It's by microchip, but we also do genetic sampling, and we have a national database that contains, I think, up to this date, more than 700 samples or 700 individuals only related to big cats. This is the way of the inspection. We inspect the animal with the breeder, or when it dies. We inspect it when it gets to the taxidermist, and we inspect the final product. We can always compare it with the genetic database. We take samples from each steps. So in this case, I think we have it handled pretty well. Again, inspection of some that tiger babies. It was a sad story, but they will end in a national museum for some, probably skeletons, so at least some goodwill come of it. And I would like to tell you a story of a Welsh ducky. It's very recent, I think last week. And our colleagues, together with the customs office, found a posting on Facebook Marketplace that was that someone will gift a wolf. It's well, first a dog, but then in the description it became clear that it should be a wolf, and it was a hybrid. But with the CITES legislation, we need to consider up to fourth filial generation. We need to consider the animal to be a specimen of the protected species. So within 36 hours, the wolf was confiscated and put in a rescue station. This is a case, just now I'm just showing interesting pictures. This is a rhino skin from the. There was a preparation of a rhino skeleton for the Slovak National Museum. And the skin was, nobody was interested in the skin, so the Slovak authority asked us to oversee the disposal. So this procedure is taking of the sample. As you can see, it wasn't very easy, not with a scalpel, not with any normal means. We needed to use a sort of disc saw. And here is how the skin was disposed of. Indeed. And that's it for my part. Thank you for your attention. And if we have time, I have a short video about inspecting of dead tigers, but it is very graphic, and I don't know if I should show it. Is there anyone with a weak stomach or something like that? Well, you can't be if you study here and you work with animals. So I trust in your strength. Here you saw the inspecting of the microchip ID. And this was partly this was an autopsy of a specimen that died in a private facility, and also it was the bones of the tigers will be used for again for a skeleton that will be displayed in a zoo in Ukraine, hopefully. This is a process of trying to find the microchip. The autopsy was done in the State Veterinary Institute in Olomouc, and very professional, I must say. And this is a different case. This is a case of stillborn baby tigers from a small zoo, and we are taking genetic samples for our database. And also we are marking them with these marks. That's it from my part. Thank you for your attention.
So here's some questions.
Thank you, Anne, for that very vivid video. So it would probably create image in our minds for the better. Now going on to the discussion part. Anybody from the audience has any questions or want further elaborations in the discussion session? Anybody? Okay.
So I have maybe one question to David and Detka, because you have both been to the field, and so you managed to monitor the situation, but how was the interaction with the people who lived there? And when you came to some like sharing the information and trying to change their attitude, so what was the what is their attitude or reaction?
Okay, so thank you. I'll start. It was funny because when I started working over there, I was looking for a species of the Helmina, the black bird. That was kind of almost mythical for the locals. It was really thought to be extinct. It was a symbol of the area also, so the people were really excited to help us, which was not very helpful because they were like leading us in all kind of ways that weren't really ways, and they were always like, it was really hard to say what is a lie or even not like a, they didn't want to lie to us, they just wanted to help us somehow, so it was funny. But they're actually, once they get all the information, they're willing to go like a better way or try to change, but it's really hard. And when you consider the amount of people, it's really hard to educate all of them, and it will probably not be possible in the long term or in general for the species. But locally, we managed to make them like proud of the species that is actually in the forest, and that they will be able to maybe one day see it in the forest, and to understand it is better than to have one in a cage that will last for 2 years because they cannot really keep it alive. So yeah, we had good experience with the individual people that we worked with. We also had funny experiences. I might maybe say a story which was funny because first 2 or 3 years we were actually measuring all kind of birds in that were held by all kind of people. And in one place we needed to measure one bird, and we are always paying the owner to let us measure the bird. And we're also taking blood samples, which is a very controversial thing in Indonesia because they are not used to it like we are here. Like many times in your life, you just get your blood tested and stuff. So we measured the bird, we took the few drops of blood, and we paid the woman the price that she wanted, and we left. And like a day after, she found us and told us that the bird died and that she wants us to pay for the bird some crazy amount. And I was like, okay, so please can you show us the dead body of the bird, because that wasn't a story that happened first, I would say. So she took us to her house, and there was literally like everything covered in blood, like the bird exploded or something. She just took a chicken, cut the head off, and just sprayed the whole room like to make it proof that the bird actually died. And we could hear the bird from the neighbor. So yeah, it was like we had also funny interactions. Yeah. So.
I think it also depends where and who you are talking with. I think sometimes it's quite funny, quite easygoing. For example, this year we went to Sri Lanka and Indonesia. So Hanka, she went to some uninhabited island. She was accompanied with 2 policemen to be sure that nothing will happen, because local community, they don't want to make some protection of sea turtles because they normally taking the egg, of course, stealing it. So in some places it's quite complicated. In other places they always want to help you, but nothing happens. Probably you know the same. And it depends if it's from government or local people or for some organizations or some community leaders. I think it depends on the people. Anytime. For example, once I was talking to one fisherman in Sri Lanka, we were on the beach, and he told me that a few weeks ago they killed turtle for the meat and took eggs from her body inside. So I said, okay, so please show me the place. And he said, okay, it was here and this way, and then we killed the turtle and take it. Okay, so please show me exactly the place. We went on the other side, and then he told me that the turtle went to the sea. So I wasn't sure what was the story about, and if he understands or he maybe changed his mind to tell me what is true or what not. And yes, in some places, I think the language can be complicated, but also the mentality can be complicated. They want to help you, they want to do something, but sometimes, or maybe very often, they know they should not do these things. So it depends on place and on the people. But yeah, for example, with the poachers in the islands, it can happen that come one boat full of guys, fishermen, take out and want to steal the eggs, but they have no guns or something. So normally in Indonesia it's quite fine. I think compared to Mexico or Ecuador, Peru, Southeast Asia is safer in this kind of work.
Any other question?
I have one question about the sea turtles. I was wondering how could you stop the activities of these centers, the conservation? You know, I think that isn't the solution stand in front of the center and shout at the people, oh no. You know, so what's the
Yeah, it's quite complicated because we wanted to cooperate with the government in official law. We prepared the law, we prepared some kind of list what should be in the conservation center, and they were not able for 5 years to make it real. And all the hotels, all the resorts sent people to see turtles in the pools every single day. Some bus or plane come to Sri Lanka or Indonesia with tourists wanted to see turtles. And so we decided to change the strategy, and we wanted to share the information that people can see sea turtles, but not in the center with the pools, but to see them in the places where they protect turtles naturally. So we are in cooperation with big resorts, big agencies, even small ones, homestays, and we share the information. If you want to support, please tell to your tourists or guests to go here, 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 but not over there. But the problem is that the places where we can recommend, it's like 7 or maybe 10 places in whole Sri Lanka. We have 2 rangers there, but they're coast guards. They have also their protection program, which works in like 3 places maybe quite well. So like 5 places is quite a good one where you can see turtles compared to 30, 40 places with the pools. So we decided to change the way of money, not the legal process.
And can I ask also, and hotels or resorts are willing to help you with to spread this information, or just they want to help more the local people, local centers?
Yeah, it depends. It depends. With, for example, the company called I Can Spend, they had idea that they can send to their guests, many hotels, resorts there, before they come to Sri Lanka, they can send them message via QR code, information how it should be with sea turtle conservation. So tourists, before they go to the hotel, they already have the information, because in the hotel they have his brother, uncle-in-law, have some friend in conservation center, so they send them there, and they will tell them it's very nice and it will help turtles. But if the tourists have the information before to go there, it will be easier to understand why they should go there. And also there are some hotels, they want to support the protection because they understand that it's unique and in maybe 10 years it will not be there anymore. So it depends on management of the hotel, of the local people, and you never know. Sometimes they will say, oh yes, we want help, we want all the documents and we will share it. And after a few years you see that nothing happens. But you never know, So we try to do this thing, but we avoid like big pressure with the government, and we started to change the flow to good places instead of these bad ones. And yes.
If I can also have a question to Jan, that it was like a very large spectrum of what you covered, but my questions are quite simple, because I was thinking, because you also talked about the shipping of the animals, and that it happens also via post now, so I suppose that will be packages. Is there does it also include live animals? And if yes, so what is the possibility, or which animals are likely to even survive this?
Well, in the past, there were some cases of smuggled vertebrates through the customs post offices. Sending live animals by post is legal, I think, only for invertebrates and only some of them. So, for example, insects can be sent by post, live specimens. I can't remember any recent case of live vertebrates that were brought by post.
So that means that hopefully it doesn't happen. So.
At least there is a strong decrease of this.
And in such a case, not only the live animals, but any items which are traded. So and you said that Czech people order it. Except for the item to be taken, what can actually happen to the person who ordered the item?
Well, that depends. That depends on the quantity of the specimens and on the level of protection. If they are, let's say, from the Annex A of the European Council regulation, then it could be classified as a crime and they could go to court in extreme cases. Or it is a larger amount of the Annex B or some other Annex specimens. But with the post office, we have one large problem, and that is that the person who ordered it can deny ordering of the article, and it's very difficult to prove. If we want to prove it to them, we need to cooperate with the police or with the customs. They have their ways. We had some successful cases of this. But if the person is clever, and if it was something like a belt from a crocodile skin or something, let's say, relatively harmless, they can just say, "Oh, I have no idea what it is. I didn't order it," and we confiscate it. Of course, they will never get it. But there is no one to issue the fine to because we basically don't know the perpetrator.
Okay. After questions, picking up from where you last talked, I believe it takes two to tango. There's an aspect of the market selling, and there's an aspect of the market buying. That means there's supply and demand. Do you feel, and this is direct to all the panelists actually, do you feel in your point of view, are there much pressure on the demand side as well as there is on the supply side? Because I feel that the noise is basically on the supply side. Stop killing elephants, stop transporting these, but there's a massive demand also in Europe and China and the likes for some of these items. And so if the demand is still there, I feel that there should be more pressure also on the supply side as well. Then the second question is, what do you believe in terms of perspective as well? Because the conservatives was in Africa some few years back, and he just took pictures of elephants roaming and poaching, and that's another perspective. You can share that on Instagram. Oh, they are elephants, oh, they are clean elephants. But the perspective of those on ground is different from that perspective of the Instagram reels, and they see some of these animals as destroying their crops, or they see some of these animals as foods. And so I believe perspective differs. And so how do you bridge the gap between the perspective of the West questioning the killing of animals and the perspective of those that on the ground that sees some of the atrocities that some of these animals perform, or they see some of these animals as food, and probably they don't have any other choices.
Okay, so concerning the first question, yes, there is demand in Europe for the wildlife trade. I think it might be slowly decreasing in some some species, but there always will be demand, and the CITES management bodies are now concerned with the demand, and they are trying to somehow work on the demand question, either by education or by communicating with the stakeholders, by finding some substitute products. It's a huge process, and a lot of money is being put into it right now. But we will see the result if it works. And concerning your second question, well, it's more of a philosophical question. From our work, we do not come into contact either with the people doing the poaching on site, or with the people that really come into contact with the animals, for example, with elephants. I heard on the CITES conference of parties, I heard representatives of African countries, and some of them were proud of the protection of the elephants, and for example, a representative of Kenya, and they try to impose even stricter measures on the trade. And for example, they tried to talk Japan into closing their legal trade with ivory, stuff like that. They try to even to make the protection even stricter. And there were representatives of countries, I think, for example, Namibia, that wanted to release the market and make ivory trade legal again. They had arguments that the elephants are basically now overabundant in their country, that they are destroying crops, as you said. And for example, I'm no expert in this, so for me it's really really difficult to evaluate what side to take. Concerning my job, I cannot take any side. I'm a state official, so it's really, I need to take it impartially. But I'm trying to see both perspectives.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I maybe have some question, but they are more technical for my schoolwork. Will it be okay to ask after this seminar?
Sure, no problem.
We have from a discussion in the buffet, so you can have.
I have a question. I was thinking if it would be possible and more sustainable to do like farming of those animals, because the problem is when you take them from the wildlife, but if you would farm them, they would not be like, their numbers in nature would not be decreasing. And also it would be certified like something sustainable, and that the animals were treated in a nice way. Do you think it would work, like farming elephant and somehow without pain to be harvesting their foods and stuff like this? What do you think about this idea?
Honestly, I don't see it happening in a good way. But first of all, for the farming works in a lot of cases for protected animals. For example, crocodiles. It's easy. It's very common. Then there is a lot of crocodile skin products that are perfectly legal. I don't see a difference between farming a cow and a crocodile. In general, farming reptiles, it might be even more efficient because of their metabolism. They need to take much less food than for example mammals. So farming reptiles for meat and skin and stuff like that, I think it makes sense. But with the elephants, I don't see it happening. Then there is the ethical question. The elephants are, I'm not saying reptiles aren't intelligent, but I'm a herpetologist, so I need to somehow defend my favorite group of animals, but let's say there are no big thinkers. But with the elephants, they are highly intelligent. Some would consider them sentient. I don't know. I don't think it's really ethical to farm them. But that's my opinion as a person. It's not.
So we are farming pigs and cows.
Yeah, that's where you draw a line. Yeah, sure, of course.
Maybe I will also put one idea into it, because there is a thing called conservation hunting, which is basically exactly this ethical problem. Like, if you have a lot of money, you can go and you can shoot a lion, you can shoot a buffalo, you can shoot any of the big five. But then you have channels in the United States that are actually broadcasting shooting endangered species like 24/7, and then it's very hard to make people understand that these species actually need the conservation attention, because apparently there is some person who can go and shoot it. Even though, like, in an ideal world, and I saw a few cases that it actually did work, that the money that was earned from these hunters is actually invested in conservation. But I don't know if it works in all of these places.
But it keeps the economy of South Africa and then Namibia, for example, running. Yeah, again, it's an ethical question. But from the law enforcement point of view, it can lead to, for example, trophy laundering. That they will get a certificate for animal caught killed in the wild. They can get from a corrupt official or whatever a certificate that it was this sort of, let's say, conservation hunting. It can lead to some problems.
Thank you. Any final questions before we start the final discussion?
Maybe I have a question for all of you. But what do you think? What's better? So, for example, is most sustainable solution if, for example, in Indonesia, for birds or for turtles, it's better do stricter legislation or high or do more the public awareness or education or something between this. What do you think?
So maybe I'll start, because the best experience we had is repression. It's really hard to educate 250 million people. And they understand as well as we here do understand, like, once I know that a penalty for this is big, so I just won't do it. I don't need no education.
Sorry.
We obviously did also the education, but you see the impact. It's working in small communities. If you have a species that is living in a very small area, so then definitely. But when we are talking about, like, for example, the bird problem in Indonesia, there is no way, and the business is too big. So that's my opinion.
I would add that, yes, big business, a lot of people, quite complicated to educate them, but I think it's still better way than to be more strict, because you cannot do that. You can imagine the village, there is some police guys or maybe army close around, and some brother will kill some animal. His brother will not keep them in prison. His brother will keep them to stay there for 10 years, even if they should pay some money where they have no money, of course. So I think, connected to the community system what they have, I think this like restricting system is not that functional, and in cooperation with corruption or something like this, I'm afraid that education of billions of people is easier maybe.
Really? And compared to, for example, drugs, which are in Indonesia like a big deal.
Yeah.
And I know people who were arrested for beer, who were arrested for one plant of marijuana, and even in this small community, it did work very well, because it's somehow like it's a very big no in Indonesia.
Yes, I think it depends on which areas it will be, because in some places you can be more strict. You know, there is a, let's say, government close to you. You are close to some big town, or there is some army camp around, or like big police station or something like this. That's what I know. In Indonesia, it's 7,000 more islands, and if in some places you can be arrested, and in other places you cannot be arrested, it makes another problems for society in general. So. Personally, I would recommend to follow the law, but unfortunately, the first is money, second is money, third is money. Maybe there can be some ideology or something like this.
Maybe I'll also add, like, I wouldn't really blame the, like, in the case of the birds, the bird owner who has his, like, 2 birds that he actually does love them. He takes care of them the best way he can. And it's really like, when you look at it, it's a beautiful hobby. Like, they take their shama every day in the cage. They all come to one place in the village, and they are training the shamas to sing beautifully. And it's a really beautiful hobby. It's really hard to blame them for it. But there are people who are having a huge business on it, and we see them, like, in this monitoring. And these are people who to target with the, you know, they know that they are doing, like, an illegal thing. Like, most of these small owners, they don't really see anything illegal in it, what they do. They just bought a bird in the market that is seen by police and army every single day. So I would focus on the big fish.
And there is also program where is the border,
Yeah.
where is big and where is not big. And we are again in this complication.
Yeah. And I would start with not with all of the animals, I would start with the critically endangered and endangered species.
Yeah.
Well, from my point of view, both. The education can only take you so far, because yeah, the person knows it's bad or at least illegal, but as long as there's money in it, some won't be stopped by only this, so there will be enforcement as well.
Okay. The best is the education of the law enforcement.
Oh, not education. No, it's education, but manpower.
Yeah.
Either in the side country or the range countries, and both here. In ideal world, we wouldn't be 5 inspectors, we would be 50.
Yeah.
And well paid.
Or at least 5 well paid.
Yeah, that would be something in between.
Yeah, about the turtles, I saw, for example, in Mexico, there are many activities of tourists going and releasing the turtles in the ocean. And I was thinking if that is effective for conservation or just another tourist action.
I think it depends. For example, if there is a releasing of baby turtles, let's say in the evening, where it's not that hot sand or almost darkness, and turtles are releasing from the nest in that day, they can be kept in the sand for a few hours, and then because during the day it will be very dangerous, also with the predators, also with the hot sun or something like this. So they can be kept for a while somewhere hidden and released in the evening with the tourists. It can be good. It can be called like nature protection or quite close to nature protection, focused on tourism, which money can make money for the conservation program. But also it can be releasing of the baby turtles anytime in the day, or it can be kept in the pools for a few days, maybe weeks, maybe months, and then they can be released, and people don't know what is behind, so it's hard to guess or hard to say if it's natural one or if it's not. So it's more complex to see the conservation center, to see if there are turtles in the pools. If they are not, probably the turtles coming out and immediately are released, and it's great and it's how it should be.
Quick question. Regarding what you just said earlier about education, do you think that's the ultimate, like the ultimatum of realizing those countries, developing countries, that they're doing an act that is illegal? I frankly don't think so. I feel like government intervention is one of them. Like, I come from Colombia, right? Earlier, they see a shrub, which is on the floor, and they can see it all around. And little do they know is that it's a coca plant. And from that, little do they know is that it will make them enough money to bring food on the table. They would go further from the consequences, knowing because they need to provide. I truly believe that I think it's to do with the construct of how the government goes towards and mitigates the amount of necessities that people need, rather than education itself. Yeah.
If I can, I just say like more in general that I think that if the people will understand why the species are protected and why it's illegal to touch, to kill, whatever to do with them, if they will understand the reason, they don't need to have theoretically power to be in prison or something like this. But if they don't understand why, of course, if it's complicated for them. That's why, for example, we are focusing to join the protection of the turtles with the fish for the fishermen in the area around. But if you come there like white guys coming somewhere, tell you cannot do this, you can do this, they can tell you okay, but they will not do that because there is no reason why to do it. Just you said it, doesn't make sense. I think they must understand the problematics, and then maybe they can follow what we think, or we can talk together that it's a good way for the environment and for sustainability of the area.
Thank you.